The piece on ownership is really owned by a guy named Peter Block, who wrote a book called Community, the Structure of Belonging. That's B-L-O-C-K, Peter Block, Community, the Structure of Belonging. It is one of the most useful and inspirational books I've ever read. And Block talks first about the need to ask powerful questions. The primary way in which we create a sense of ownership, he says, is through asking powerful questions. Powerful questions are those that evoke a choice for accountability and commitment. Powerful questions are the ones that cause you to become an actor as soon as you answer them. You no longer have the luxury of being a spectator of whatever it is you're concerned about. And questions that have the power to make a difference are ones that engage people in an intimate way, confront them with their freedom, and invite them to co-create a future possibility. Block says that a great question has three qualities. One, it is ambiguous. There is no attempt to try to precisely define what is meant by the question. Each person in answering it brings their own personal meaning into the room. Two, it is personal. And three, it evokes anxiety. Block says that all that matters makes us anxious. If there is no edge to the question, there is no power. Let me give you some examples. I work alone. Here's an example of a question with little power. We ask, well, how do we get people to serve on the board? A powerful question related to this is, what gifts do you hold that you are willing to bring to this congregation? Out of the answer may come serving on the board, but that's not the intent of the question. A question with little power, how do we get people to accept the move to 2 services? A powerful question to ask would be, what are you willing to give up in order to move forward? In the very act of answering the question, you begin to act on it. How do we get people to pledge more money? I'm sure that's not an issue for any of you. The powerful question would be, what is the commitment that you bring to this congregation? And then finally, how do we get more people to attend congregational meetings? A powerful question could be, how valuable do you want this congregational experience to be? Out of that comes conversation, which might include attending congregational meetings. For questions with little power, the hidden agenda is to maintain dominance and to be right. They have no power, only force, and they imply that the one asking knows and that the people are a problem to be solved. How do we get more people to serve on the board? We know how important it is. We know how valuable it can be. They don't. So what can we say? Well, how can we motivate them to serve on the board? We can start by asking the powerful question, because powerful questions enable us to move forward. And by answering these kinds of questions, we become more accountable, more committed, more vulnerable, and more intimate and connected. Let me talk a little bit more about ownership. And again, a lot of this is the work of Peter Block, and I'm so passionate about this concept. James Larkin wrote, I am, of course, aware that the ultimate solution is the ownership and control of the means of life by the whole of the people, but we are not at that stage of development as yet. It's almost as if he was talking about our congregations. And Peter Block wrote, we have to realize that each time people enter a room, they walk in with ambivalence, wondering whether this is the right place to be. This is because they believe that someone else owns the room. Members of your congregation will not become involved in congregational life if they don't feel that they own the room. So as a member of my home congregation, the UU Church of Delaware County in Media, Pennsylvania, just outside Philadelphia. Yay, who's here from Delaware County? Oh, hi, Jody. Now I'm nervous. I've been a member for nearly 20 years. I've held virtually every position imaginable. including 2 tours on the Board of Trustees, the second time serving as first vice president to Jody, and then president of the board. I've also headed the fund drive, taught religious education, served as auctioneer, participated in the Adult Faith Development Program, been a worship associate, performed in Gilbert and Sullivan's Christmas Carol, and finally, grudgingly, made and served coffee. Let's face it, I am a big mahaf in my congregation. It's my affectionate term. But even today, when I approach the door of my congregation on a Sunday morning, and this is true, I sometimes hesitate for a moment as I wonder whether this is still the place where I belong. Am I still needed? Is this still my congregation to create? And if I go through this, I'll bet many of the people in our congregations who are more on the fringe are wondering that every time they enter the building. So Block says that the ownership conversation asks us to act as if we are creating what exists in the world. I love that. This requires that we believe in the possibility that our congregation is mine or ours to create. And it stems from the belief that each of us is cause, not effect. And if people believe this, we wouldn't need to be here. Now you're all going to run out and buy Peter Block's book, and you're going to forget about me. Here are the powerful questions related to ownership. And we actually, in my home congregation, we have a course called UU 101 for people who want to become members. They have to take the course. And these are the questions that we ask in the 4th class. So the ones related to ownership, again, how valuable an experience do you plan for this to be? And what do you risk by becoming a member of this congregation? Block says that anything of value comes with a cost. So what's it going to cost you? What a rich, wonderful conversation to have. The second aspect of motivating people to get more involved in congregational life is helping them to realize their contribution or transcendent purpose. And W. Clement Stone said, when you discover your mission, you will feel its demand. It will fill you with enthusiasm and a burning desire to get to work on it. So I think we need to help people to develop personal mission statements. Of course, if your congregation has a crummy mission, work on that first. And then get people to develop a personal mission statement that will live into the mission of the congregation. Here are the powerful questions related to contribution and purpose. How do you want to live out your Unitarian Universalist beliefs? These are the powerful questions. And what are you called to do as a member of this congregation? There's no preconceived answers here. Each answer is personal. And you never know when you ask the question what's going to come out of it. And then the third aspect of helping people to get more motivated in congregational life is acknowledging our gifts. We are not defined by deficiencies or what is missing. We are defined by our gifts and what is present. We embrace our own destiny when we have the courage to acknowledge our own gifts and choose to bring them into the world. So authentic acknowledgement of our gifts is what it means to be inclusive or to value diversity. And the powerful questions for acknowledging our gifts: what is the gift or gifts that you wish to share with other members of this congregation? And how will you acknowledge the gifts that other members bring forth into this congregation?